Hello everyone, I am Dr. Mahendra Kumar Dhakad, Suresh Gyan Vihar University, Jaipur. Today we discuss about Kriya Yoga, a mystical practice for everyday life. Outline of today's lecture. Part 1, mysticism. Second, Kriya Yoga. Third, mystical and Kriya Yoga concept. Immortality, dharma, karma, death and rebirth, Atma, Brahman, as me. Aham Brahma as me. Kali Yuga, the present scenario. The 8 limbs of Yoga Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Part 2, daily practice and rituals. Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. Yam, abstentions. Niyam, observances. Asan, yoga posture. Pranayam, breath control. Pratyahar, withdrawal of the senses. Dharana, concentration. Dhyan, meditation. Samadhi, contemplation. First we see mysticism, derived from the Greek meaning to conceal and from the word mystikos, meaning an initiate. The pursuit of communion with, identify with, or conscious awareness of an ultimate reality, divinity, spiritual truth, or God through direct experience, intuition, instinct, and insight. W.F. Cobb, Mysticism and Creed, 1914. Perennial philosophy, Aldous Huxley. The metaphysics that recognize a divine reality substantial in the world of things and lives and minds. The psychology that find in the soul something similar to or even identical with divine reality. The ethic and finds man's final and in the knowledge of the immanent and transcendent ground of all being is immemorial and universal. Rudiments of the perennial philosophy may be found among the traditionary lore of primitive peoples in all regions of the world, and in its fully developed forms it has a place in every one of higher religions. Some mystical tradition, Sufism, Islamic mysticism, teaches turning the heart away from all else but God. Buddhism, mystical practice teaching the impermanence of all creation and dependent origination. There is no such thing as independent existence. Creation mysticism, various practices which brings the mystic into the realization of his creator God. Gnosticism, Rosicrucian, Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, esoteric practice meant to connect the finite material universe with an eternal ultimate reality. Toltec mysticism, Carlos Castaneda, Don Miguel Ruiz. Other tradition, Native American, Australian, Aboriginal tradition. Mystical experience is very personal and unique and therefore beyond description. So that critical thinker, therefore, mystical experience is suspect. Criticism of mysticism. The mysticism works from within as opposed to philosopher who works from without. The mystic starts from his inner positive individual experience in which he finds himself as the eternal and only being. But nothing of this is communicable except that we have to accept the assertions that we have to accept his word. Schopenhauer, the word as will and representation. Criticism of mysticism. Mystical experience only seem profound and pursue because the mind's critical faculties are inactive. Martin Minksey, mystical experience is essential and entitled regressive experience, and what is perceived as experience of openness is actually the memory of oneness with the mother in the womb. Freud, mysticism is the acceptance of allegations without evidence of proof, either apart from or against the evidence of one's senses and one's reason. Mysticism is the claim to some non-sensory, non-rational, non-definable, non-identifiable means of knowledge such as instinct, intuition, revelation, or any form of just knowing, and Rand faith and force, the destroyer of the modern world. Mysticism, at some point we come to questions the purpose of life, and when we do, we find that the promise of a heaven or a threat of a hell no longer satisfactorily inform our judgment. You must make haste to do your work here, for it is here that you can truly do it. Expect nothing from death. Life is your only salvation. It is in life that you must transform yourself. It is upon earth that you progress, and it is upon earth that you realize that it is in the body that you win the victory. The mother, questions and answer. Shakyamuni Buddha taught the human birth is as rare as the likelihood of blind turtle rising from the depth of the ocean once in 100 years and putting his head into the hole of the fisherman yoke. Buddhists believe that one's present condition as a human should be highly valued. Instead of feeling so much regret when we lose your money, we should develop regret when we waste our human life. Pabonka Rinpoche. Confucius espoused the sublime perfection of the Chu Chao Chaoji Chaotuji, the superior man who embodies the best qualities of humankind as the ideal by which each person should aspire. Only when society is filled with many Sun Tzu can the world then move towards peace. Jain embodies the concept of goodness, benevolence, and love, and its external expression. The Jain is the inner ideal of the dignity of human life wherever it exists. Thus, the simultaneous respect for oneself and the feelings of love for and connectedness with others. It embodies empathy and the desire to affirm oneself while affirming others. The Jain endues man is benevolent and loving towards all everywhere because he knows within the four seas all men are brothers and sisters. Li, the Li is the external expression of the Jain which entails society propriety. When everyone becomes idealized with Jain and perform their duties with Li, life and society flows in harmony. Mysticism, seeing into darkness is clarity, knowing how to yield is strength. Use your own light and return to the source of light. This is called practicing eternity. Mysticism practice are navigational tools in the journey to find the self. It allows one to live in this world but to not be of this world. There are no sad saints, life is good. Through mystical practice, we can appreciate all that is good and beautiful in all of creation and align the stream of our lives in the flow of universal life. When we understand this, we can face any adversity and good fortune alike with equanimity. Kriya Yoga. Kriya from the Sanskrit Kri meaning action, Ya meaning awareness. Kriya action with awareness. Yoga from the Sanskrit Yug meaning to yoke, to bind or harmonize. Kriya Yoga is a mystical practice which provides a way to expand one's horizon of awareness, to live life deliberately, and to harmonize one's life into the flow of universal life. It is a mystical practice derived from teaching of ancient sage called Rishi, whose knowledge was passed on through oral tradition over century and eventually codified at around 500 CE. It is not a religion and is compatible with other spiritual practices. It emphasizes self-discipline through a series of practices and ritual that the aspiring yogi does daily in order to gain wisdom. Yoga is a path of individual Kriya Yoga. Enlightenment. In its most practical meaning, enlightenment is nothing more than spiritual maturity. The way to spiritual maturity is to know the self as it really is. The true self cannot be known through the external senses but only through process of turning inward where the mind is still. Jain Buddhism, the way of enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. We find enlightenment as well in the way we conduct our day-to-day responsibilities. Immortality. You have been person since beginningless time and will continue to be through endless time. You are spirit traveling through time in a body and a mind. You are not a body with a mind and perchance a spirit soul. The Atma, soul and spirit is never born and he never dies, nor does the repeatedly come into being and undergo expansion, because he is unborn and eternal. He is inexhaustible, or ever youthful and ancient, although the body is subject to birth and death. The Atman is never destroyed, said Bhagavad Gita. What is immortal? Buddhism substrate consciousness. Buddhist accounts of the substrate consciousness all refers to it as an individual stream of consciousness that carries on from one lifetime to the next. Bhavanga, meaning ground of becoming. Theravada Buddhist view of a vacuum state of consciousness devoid of mental activity, accessible in the meditative state, during sleep and at the time of death. Substrate consciousness is short of the undifferentiated stem cell of consciousness, which returns to the void at the time of death and is passed on to the next lifetime. Christianity soul. The soul may be defined as the ultimate eternal principle by which we think, feel and will, and by which our bodies are animated. If there be a life after death, clearly the agent or subject of our vital activities must be capable of an existence separate from the body. The belief in a animating principle is some sense distinct from the body is an almost inevitable inference from the observed facts of life. Islam, Ruhu, spirit, nafs, soul. Although used interchangeably, nafs is generally used to mean soul when it is in a body, while ruh refers to soul when it is outside the body. Advait Vedant, Hindu thought of non-duality, that is self, Atma, is not separate from the whole, Brahm, Adi Shankaracharya, that thou art. Brahman, Brahm is the only truth. The spatio-temporal world is only an illusion, and there is ultimately no difference between Brahman and the Atman, individual self. Brahm Satyam Jagat Mithya Jivo Brahmev Napare. The Vedanta predate the Bible. This concept of the individual self being one with Brahma, God, is contained in the biblical statements, I am that I am. Be still and know that I am God. In Bhagavad Gita, worn out garments are shed by the body. Worn out bodies are shed by according Bhagavad Gita, worn out garments are shed by the body. Worn out bodies are shed by the dweller. Within the body, new bodies are donned by the dweller like garments, not wounded by weapons, not burned by fire, not dried by wine, not wetted by water. Such is a Atma. Nenam chidanti sastani nana patidauka. Not dried, not wetted, not burned, not wounded, innermost elements. Everywhere, always, beings of beings. Changeless, eternal, for ever and ever. Death and rebirth. Have you ever on earth or in the heavens seen a being born who will not die, no heard that such a thing had happened, or even suspected that it might? A letter to consolation, Ashwaghosh. Everything in material existence go through a process of becoming, being and living, creation, sustainment and dissolution. Mystic practice include the contemplation of one's dying, understanding and accepting this existential certainty is an exercise in non-attachment. Buddhist teaching encourages living one's life in a way that elevates human suffering, and so that one can have an auspicious rebirth, presumably so one can carry on the bodhisattva way in the next lifetime. Kriya Yoga teaching emphasis service to all life, including excluding none. Dharma, the essence of things, duty, and teaching. There are three meanings of dharma. Karma, the universal law of suggestion. Karma is never retribution or punishment. It is simply the effect of one's action. A karmic action may have far reaching consequence, much like the branch of a tree. Karma is transferred from lifetime to lifetime. By one's action, karma may be softened or burned altogether. However, it is said that once karmic events begins, there is no force in the universe that can reverse it. Whatsoever you do to others, you do more so to yourself. Aham Brahmasmi. I am a creative principle. Of anyone who you will ever meet in your lifetime. You are the only one that you will never live or lose. To all the questions of your life, you are the only answer. To all the problem of your life, you are the only solution. We have no problem external to ourselves. The problem is not our spouse, our parent, or the government. Whenever we have problem, we are the problem. Other people or situations simply catalyze the expression of whatever conflict we have within. We are exactly where we want to be. Stephen Conway asks, what is the situation asking of me? Then exercise integrity at the moment of your choice. Be here now. Now is the only time. Here is the only place. Everything else is either a memory or a promise. Patanjali 8 limbs of yoga. These practices are designed to bring one closer to experiencing the true self. The mind is full of chatter. It is only by winding the space between our thoughts that we can transcend rational through the cultivate intuition. The first 4 limbs are external practices designed to cleanse the body, discard emotional baggage, and unclutter one's life. The subsequently 4 limbs are internal practice designed to widen one's horizon of awareness and become receptive to the inner reality. The age of Kali Yuga, Bhagavata Puran, chapter 2, Kand 12. Thereafter, day after day, under the force of the inexorably powerful time, rightness, truth, purity, both physical and mental, forbearance, mercy, duration of life, physical power, and sharpness of memory shall go deteriorating. Wealth alone will be the deciding factor of mobility of birth, righteous behavior or merits, and brute force will be the only standard in the arrangement and decision of what is righteous or just. Cheating is the order of the day is business, relation, satisfaction of the sexual pleasure is the only consideration of masculine or feminine excellence and worthiness. Justice has become weak and is based on bribes. Want of affluence is the cause of one's impiety or bad name, while hypocrisy is the index of goodness. The highest purpose of life is to fill one's belly, and arrogant audacity is regarded as veracity. Even trees will be stunned on account of exploitation by unrighteous men. Srimad Bhagavatam, the world will be overrun by impostures discussing the virtue of great meals. The countryside will bristle with towers. Mahabharata, the book of the forest. The 8 limbs of yoga. The 8 limbs, also known as Ashtanga Yoga, are preparations for spiritual life. The first four are external practice. Yam Niyam guide our conduct and action toward ourselves and others. Asan Pranayam are exercise designed to gather and converse the life force and prolong physical life as much as possible. The last four are internal practice whereby we turn from the external environment and get in touch with our inner reality. Kriya Yoga is a spiritual philosophy which is not aimed at self denial but rather the existence of negative emotionalities and physical spiritual imbalances. Balance is a buzzword in modern terminology, moderation. The purpose is to unite, harmonize the physical and spiritual reality and to understand the self. When one knows a drop of water, one will recognize water in all of its forms wherever it is found. Yam Niyam for the householder, these are to be practiced with consideration of class, time, place, and circumstances. We walk to law of dharma according to our station in life, duty, and our spiritual understanding. Yam, the law of abstractions, Thou shalt not ahimsa, no injury of everyone. Ahimsa, no injury. Most important, yam will bring peace in one's life. No injury to oneself, no injury to others, no injury in action, no injury in words, no injury in thought. Yogis believe that the practice of ahimsa guarantees that violence will not come into one's life. Yajurveda, when the yogi is stabilized in ahimsa, he cultivates the feeling of spirit toward all life forms and therefore does nothing that will bring him grief or attachment. Yam Satya, truthfulness. The practice of Satya allows truth to come into our lives, conducting our mind, speech, and action according to truth. Words used with intention to harm are not truthful. According to yoga, we should examine our words before speaking and utter them only if they are useful and good. Keeping your word. Be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity. Say only that you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. The four agreements for your relation. Aste, non stealing, taking that which is not given. According to yoga, whatever has come into your life, you have already earned. Whatever you have not earned has not yet been presented to you. Whatever is truly yours, you cannot lose. Whatever you take that has not been given will only bring you grief. Not only applies to physical theft but also intellectual and verbal stealing. Taking away someone's dignity, moment of glory, intellectual property, moment of happiness. Ancient Kriya law teach that which is ours, no person, no guru, no god can take away from us. That which is not ours, no person, no guru, no god can give to us. Brahmacharya, often translated as celibacy, Brahmacharya refers to control of the sense organs and not only the sex organs. Yogis believe that nothing scatters the life force more than irresponsible sexual activity. At the same time, one should not fear sexuality. There should be no fear of the ecstasy that life has given us. Rather, these gifts should be considered the dewy drops of existence by which we come to fully understand and warmth and beauty that is of a God. Yogis say that is whatever you do, what is with gentleness and spiritual warmth. Brahmacharya also refers to integrity in relationship. Aprigraha. Greed, is usually related to overstimulation of the sense organs. Yoga teaches not to be attached to the enjoyment of sense object because the mind then covers more and more of it. Greed often leads to violence. Distinguish between need and greed. To whom much is given, much is also expected. Noble nobligence, according to Veda, people who acquired fortune without much efforts have gained these through past good karma, and whatever is superfluous should be funneled into noble humanitarian and spiritual cause. Repermanent of depth to be a permanent friend, culture and civilization. To the yogi is also include repermanent of death to the guru, saints and sage of the past by unfolding spiritually redirection, redirecting love and compassion and fulfilling spiritual obligation. Niyam, the laws of observance, thou shalt, Shoch, purity, Santosh, contentment, Tapas, austerity, Swadhyay, study of holy text, and Ishwar Pranidhan, surrender to God. First we see Niyam, Soch, purity, keeping the mind and body clean, intellectual purity, keeping the awe to lift one's thoughts and emotions to be higher state of consciousness. Verbal purity, speaking what is consoling, harmonizing, gentle, uplifting, and straightforward. Physical purity, keeping the physical body clean and free from harmful substance. Obsession, the goal of lifting up from base instincts to higher state of consciousness and uniting life with life. Niyam, Santosh, most vital of observance. Niyam, Santosh, contentment. The most vital of observances, remaining content with what you have and not coveting what you have not yet earned. Do not be disappointed if you have less than what you expected, nor be over elated if more than expected comes into your life. Do not be perferred, perturbed if something you do not need is removed from your life. Do not complain to society, fate, or God if what you acquire is insufficient to meet your needs. Rather, meditate and understand the laws of evidence. The wisdom of life ways, Santosh, that which is taken away from you is not really taken away from you, but rather is converted or transmuted to that which you need more dearly. Manu, the lawgiver. If man is good, God, but not contentment, what does he really have? However, if a man does not have God, if he has contentment, then he has everything. Niyam, tapas, austerity. Austerity is the power to withstand hunger, thirst, heat, cold, and other discomforts. Require the balance of through thought and emotion. I can do it. I am afraid to do it. Bhagavad Gita, mental austerity consists of one, quietude of the mind, equanimity, silence the mind, control of imbalance, probabilities. Gita gets of anguish, greed, anger, and craving. Verbal austerity avoid speaking that which would cause agitation and negativity, or that would allow and give permission for others to do so. Swadhyay, utilize of mystical technique that lead to the realization of spirit and to the fullness of life. Twofold study of sacred scripture from any and all religions which teach and means and modes of enlightenment. Study of the self and all its component parts. Understanding of how the body parts function and what they need for health. Understanding how you habitually respond to situations so you can make change. Ishwar Pranidhan, centering on God. Ishwar, you individualized personal deity. Translated different ways, attunement of God, meditation on God, devotion to God. Apex of the 9 previous niyam, unreserved, unequivocal, absolute and total dedications of your thoughts, words and action to your chosen ideal in life. Ishwar. Whatever you do it gently and with love. And only after forethought, whatever you do, seek out your own enlightenment with greater diligence. Ashan, posture. Kriya Yoga conceives the body and mind as an organs. Asana stretch and muscles, improve blood flow and relieves tension as the body relaxes and mind too relaxes. Pranayam, breath control, usually practiced with asan. Pran is the total life force of the universal and is manifest in all that is living and organic, in all plans of existence. In the human body, it is transported by the breath and is the vital energy that vivifies all motion, action, and thought. It controls every function of the body. Through pran, we are connected to all of creation and ultimately to the divine. Pranayam bestows upon the individual many benefits, which include, among others, improvements of health, vitality, longer life, equanimity, and ability to live in the beneficent flow of the universe, and an intimate connection with the divine through pranayam. And advanced yogi can gain special powers called yog siddhi, which may include clairvoyance, clairaudience, levitation, bilocation, and teleportations, and the siddhi of healing. These highly involved yogis are called yog siddh. Pratyahar, withdrawal of the senses. Pratyahar is generally thought to mean sense withdrawal. It is the fifth of the eight limbs of yoga and, and is considered to be the pivotal practice as it moves us from the external practice to increased awareness of the self within. The practice itself combines asana pranayam with mindfulness. The sense organs are conditioned